And the hits just keep on coming. We've been covering this topic for a little while. I think we started way back at the beginning of the year. We were noticing physical games disappearing from store shelves.
Yes, the store shelves were empty and are still empty and are getting emptier by the day.
Yeah.
Which sucks for video games because we're big physical media fans. But it's not just physical games. Now it's starting to become like everything's just going downhill gaming wise. It's it's crazy.
Well, I think we're at a transitionary period, and I remember when we put that video out, it was the best video we have ever put out from a views perspective. You know, I don't know if it was the best video we've ever made, but apparently YouTube thought it was. But the comments were really divided. Like, I'm not seeing that in my area. That's not really happening. You guys are kind of turning into get off my lawn type of guys. And we were like, back then, like, no, this is a bigger thing that is going on as we are converting from a physical realm in video games to an all-digital space. And today we're going to kind of talk in chronological order of things that have popped off throughout the year that are showing kind of the downfalls of this shift of how the whole scene is changing.
It's really weird. So we're going to do chronologically, like from newest news back all the way back to when we first started covering this topic.
Yeah, because 2023 has been trepidatious in this space, to say the very least.
It's been like every month there's been like something where it's like, okay, there's another hit. So the first one we want to talk about, this is a big deal. They just announced this. And if you're not a wrestling fan, it might not be a big deal to you, but it might be because if this, other games might follow suit.
Yes.
WWE 2K announced that they are ending support for WWE 2K22 at the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
So a game that's not even 2 years old is going to be like not supported at all.
Yeah.
Online. That's insane to think about. Like that's basically a brand new game.
Yeah. It released in March, and if it stops in January, which is what they're saying,
Less
it'll be
than 2
just
years.
shy of the 2-year mark. And the game, when they take the servers offline, okay, you can still play the game.
Yes.
But I will just use myself as a point of reference. I got this game after it was out for about a year. Our buddy gave it to me, and I'm enjoying it, but only here and there. Haven't got around to downloading the DLC. DLC is a tricky thing, because that'll go away when the servers go down. In most cases, DLC will work.
Yes.
Post servers going down, but not always if it has to pull something from the online database that is no longer there, which we'll maybe talk about later in this video that we know we're going to run into with one of our favorite games of all time. But another part, so you can't play online, you can't have your head-to-head matches with your buddies and your friends, but there's a whole community in the 2K world that does fan creations of arenas, superstars, things like that.
Belts. You know?
Yeah, a lot of work goes into that, and that stuff just gone.
It's just going to be gone, and it's so wild to think, like, yeah, everyone's like, well, just get the new one. You know, that's a lot of people, and it's like, what if you can't afford the new one? Or what if you're like behind and you have a crazy backlog?
Yeah.
And like WWE 2K, you're a fan of wrestling, and you find this game for cheap, and you might not have a ton of money, but you're like, this is kind of new enough.
Yeah.
Let me play this, and then you get it, and at least it's still playable offline.
Yeah.
That is at least something that's nice about it. But that does suck. Like, basically a brand new game is going to be delisted, and I wouldn't be shocked if like other companies see this and then they're like, well, why are we still supporting this game when the new one's out? Why are we still supporting Call of Duty when there's a, you know what I mean? Like
Madden, FIFA,
yeah,
NBA 2K.
Literally in the WWE tweet, they go, we're no longer going to be supporting this at the beginning of next year. Now is the time to buy the new one. They're pushing, like in the tweet, they literally are saying, this game doesn't matter anymore, buy the new one. And in a few months, the newer one will be out.
Yeah.
So are they gonna in a 6 months cut the servers for 23? Because 24 will be out.
It begs the question. Like, yeah, and I think it's really what they want. They do not want gamers like myself. They do not want a guy sitting at home playing MLB The Show 2008 on his PS2.
Yeah.
And 2K22 is the type of game that I could play that for a long freaking
you
time.
Keep playing it.
They don't want that. They want, essentially, without a subscription service.
That's kind of what it's turning into, a yearly, just where it's like,
yeah.
Once the new one comes out, the old one doesn't matter anymore, so all the time you spend into it, all the money you spend into it, who cares?
Yep.
Buy the new one, restart.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. And it's very frustrating, and I know it's kind of specific because it's like just for wrestling.
Yeah.
But 2K's a big friend. They do sports games. So if this goes well with wrestling, why wouldn't they
do it for NBA 2K?
Yeah, why wouldn't they do that for the basketball games? Why wouldn't they do it? Yeah.
A lot of this stuff I think is just the tip of the iceberg. And we'll move on to another thing. And we've tracked this kind of topic for a long time as well. But Nintendo also in October starting off with some freaking bangers here.
Yeah, it's a spooky month, dude.
Yeah.
And this shit's scaring me.
Wii U and 3DS. We know they closed the shops back in March of this year. So that was earlier in 2023. Well, now they announced, and they said, we will keep the servers up, though, for an undisclosed amount of time. And there are people around like, oh, it'll probably be a couple years. Oh, hell no, it's not going to be. Hell nah.
No.
They're closing those April of 2024. So then anything that you need to re-download, any DLC, any online games, if you want to show your kids someday how fun the first Splatoon was online,
oh yes,
good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
And you know what, if you're maybe a family that doesn't always buy the latest and greatest, but you love playing Mario Kart 8 on your Wii U online, good luck, Chuck. Go buy a Switch and buy Mario Kart 8 again.
They want you to buy it again. It kind of goes back to the wrestling thing. It's like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. Buy the new one.
Yeah.
Get the new one. People can't afford the new thing all the time.
And on our channel, we've mostly covered the Wii U because we mostly cover home consoles. Not a lot of handhelds.
Yes.
So you could maybe make an argument, well, guys, the Wii U did really poor. I mean, how long do you expect them to support it? Touche. But I'll counter that with the 3DS and the DS did not do poor.
They didn't.
The 3DS is one of the best-selling Nintendo platforms of all time. So many kids had those, and they're taking that.
They're taking that down as well. It really sucks. And then we're taking the step back to September. Xbox announced, and people were asking if we were going to do a video on this, so here you go. Yeah. Xbox announced that their next console is going to be discless. So the digital-only new Xbox console, which is super frustrating. There is rumors, too, that the next PlayStation is going to be discless.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be, like, it's discless, and then you can buy an external drive if you want it. That is so frustrating. Because they're forcing you into a digital only.
Yeah.
I mean, you can already get discless versions of the PS5 and Xbox.
They put their toes in the water, and I mean, when you look at the ratio of digital to physical sales, maybe it makes sense, but one thing I don't think, and we get this comment all the time when we talk about physical media disappearing, of, well, not the entire game is on the disc anyway, so why do you care? You're missing the freaking point. We are aware of that, okay? The point is, I cannot take my physical game and trade it in, even if it's to a company like GameStop that's going to rip me off and only give me $2. I still can do that. Or I can get the game home and say, you know what, that's not really my cup of tea. I'm not really digging this game, and it just came out. I can throw it on eBay and maybe get $45-50 out of my 60 back.
Get some of your, or maybe it's a game that you really do love, and you want to share the game with somebody.
Yeah.
You want to, and it's a modern game, so the servers still are online. You can be like, hey, dude, check out this game.
Yeah.
I beat it. Now you need to check it out.
I can't.
Dude, WWE 2K22. If you like that game, good luck sharing that. I mean,
if you usually download it.
Yeah.
And we've done that so many times. I remember when you were playing Doom on your PS4 or Xbox or whatever. It was like, dude, you should check this out. And you're like, oh man, yeah, I totally will. I've heard it's good. Haven't played it. Now you love it. You know,
it took me a while to get to it, but now it's freaking bad. We're getting rid of like the sharing aspect, and obviously they don't want you to do that either because they want everyone to buy a copy.
Absolutely,
it's a financial. But it's just it's eliminating all the options that you have.
Yeah.
It's literally like, okay, no options. This is what you get. If you don't like it, you don't get it at all.
And I think that's the point. It's not that the games are on the disc, and yes, some of those will not play forever because not everything's on there. We totally get that. But eliminating the secondhand market is not good. One, it's going to strangle out a lot of game companies or gaming brick and mortar stores selling stuff secondhand, which this industry doesn't want. But when you get on, just jump on your PS3. Jump on your Xbox, jump on whatever you have that has online connectivity, and go look at the price of old games, guys. You can jump on your PS3, and there are old copies of Madden on there that are still full price.
That are still $60.
There's still Call of Duty games from the PS3 that are full price.
It's insane.
Now, they've probably forgot about them, but that still even goes for the newer stuff. Now, some of the game companies are good about discounting their stuff digitally.
They do like a fire sale sometimes, but
eliminating that secondhand market, there's games that are on sale for full price on the PS3 store that you can go get for like a couple bucks at any retro gaming store or secondhand gaming store.
But they just really want to milk and get as most money as they can from stuff.
Yeah.
It is, and we'll talk about digital sales being the same price as physical in a little bit when we talk about the shelves, because that is absolutely wild. But it's just these companies, they know what. Well, I mean, we've talked about this a ton, but they know what they're doing. They're forcing us into a corner, and there's no option. There's no way out. It's just like, okay, this is how it's going to be. Spend your money. Oh, you bought it last year. Doesn't matter anymore. You got to buy the new one, you know?
Yeah, and I think about just recently on the Xbox One, not to go on a tangent, but they delisted Deadpool.
Yeah.
We had Deadpool on our Xbox One. It won't work anymore.
Yeah, and that's just one example.
Yeah, but
no warning. They weren't like, oh, in 30 days we'll delist it. You know, beat it while you can. No,
it's bizarre.
It's freaking frustrating, dude.
So prior to September is a little month called August, and we got the news that the Xbox 360 store is going to be closing. You guys remember there was some hubbub a year or two ago about the PS3 store may be closing, and everybody was like hair on fire. Let's raise a stink, and Sony said, we're gonna walk that one back a little
because
bit.
They probably made a ton of money.
Yeah,
like a bunch of people went and bought games, so I don't blame them.
This is why it's important. These type of things. That's why discless consoles are not the brightest and shiniest thing that you should be excited about, because these stores are going to close. And what happens when the 360 store closes? We've got content planned for that.
Yes.
But guys, there are games that's the only way you can get them. There is DLC that you have bought and paid for that will not work the same. Like, I think Call of Duty Black Ops, I think of that because when you download the DLC, the map Derised.
Yeah, that's our favorite map.
You get that soda machine or whatever that lets you have 3 weapons.
Yes.
If you are not connected online, that machine will not appear.
Yeah.
You can still play the map.
You can still play the map, and it's an old version of the map. That machine is not there. It's a very small thing, but that's a game that's important to us, and we play that map with that machine so much, and we have so much memories, and
someday we won't be able to do it.
I'm not going to say nostalgia because it's not nostalgia yet, but we will have nostalgia for that. So then it's like, oh, dude, in 10 years, we're going to get together, let's play some zombies, and it's like, where the fuck is that machine at? Oh, it got delisted. We got to go back to the... So we'll still be able to get some of the memory, but we won't be able to fully recreate it. And like that kind of makes me think of like all these online games that like if you have memories playing with like some of your friends online with these digital only games, how are you going to recreate or chase that nostalgia when you have that for those games?
Well,
you know, there's going to be no way.
And I think you're thinking more like probably Fortnite, Warzone.
Yeah,
realm, right?
that type of stuff where it's like, dude, I played this all the time with my coworkers. You know, online it was fantastic. You get that bug, and it's like, there's no way to go back to that.
Well,
It's
there is,
gone.
though. There is. And the way it is for them to release a remastered version 20 years from now when your nostalgia's popping off and get you to buy it again for full price.
You gotta buy it again for full price.
That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to release, somewhere down the line, they're going to get rid of all these old Call of Duty games, and there'll be like a deluxe zombie edition.
Yep.
And
I mean, they already did do that. They've released zombie maps, you know, for newer consoles. So then you buy it again.
Yeah.
You buy it again. Dude, it's so weird, and it also like when stores get delisted, you lose all this exclusive content that's locked on those consoles. Like the PS3 store, House of the Dead 4. That's the only way you can get that game.
Yep.
That game is going to be locked to that console. And say you're not into home console gaming. Say you're more into like mobile games. Dude, there's so many mobile games that get delisted all the time. It still applies. But if you, like Flappy Bird, for example. If you go on eBay, people are selling old phones with Flappy Bird on it just so you can get that nostalgic way to play that stupid game.
Yeah.
So like, no matter what niche you're in, this applies. You know, that shit is gone. And then, so like, House of the Dead 4 on a PS3 when that's delisted, that console, if you have that game, will sell for so much because people want it.
And there's always emulation out there, right? People will have these games to be able to be played in some sort of way, which bless their hearts for preserving this stuff, but the casual average Joe is not going to have access to that stuff. There's not a time that goes by in recent memory that we play on stream or whatever, NBA Jam on Fire edition, and people are like, how do you get this?
It's gone.
It's delisted.
It's gone forever.
And guess what happened when it got delisted? The DLC updated rosters are gone.
Yeah.
We can still play the core game how it was when it came out.
See, that's one thing that people don't realize. Oh, you got this DLC. Oh, the service went down. Don't worry, I downloaded the DLC. It might be good. It might go away. Like for NBA Jam, we lost characters. The characters that we played as are gone. So in the middle of a franchise that we started in that game, we had to start over. The franchise continued, but we had to play as different characters.
Yeah.
And there was no warning for that either. It's just gone.
Here today, gone tomorrow type of deal. And so we know in July of 2024, the Xbox 360 store is closing, and it's going to be gone forever. Stay tuned to the channel because we're going to have tons of content of the games that you need to snipe before that happens to get yourself prepared, because the 360 is still awesome in 2023. And
so many
that's
amazing games.
maybe another video that we'll talk about somewhere down the line. Back in June, this game is not super new, but it's not super old either. And this is a game that was kind of the first of many to come that I think is still going to be a popular style, and it was that Friday the 13th game,
Yes.
and it was announced that it will be delisted at the end of 2023, and servers will close at the end of 2024.
Which sucks. It's it's been out for a few years, so it's not super new, but it's still like a modern game.
Yep.
And it's an online only game. They did make a physical version of that game, but there's not. Once it gets delisted and you can't be able to play it online, you can't play it couch co-op. Like you can't, or not couch co-op, but couch versus.
Yeah, like, it's so weird in those games that they don't do 4-player split screen.
No, it doesn't offer it.
But you can play single player against AI bots. But
no one's gonna do that.
This again goes back to the point you brought up, though. If you get nostalgic for this and remember a time where you were on with a bunch of friends playing this game, it's only going to be in your memory. Which
so many people did, because this is a great October game. Yeah. It's a great horror game. It's a great game if you like Friday the 13th. I know the game has bugs and flaws, but we played it online with 8 people, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Because it's just chaotic, over the headset. It's just another example of just like that core memory. That memory that's going to be nostalgic one day is gone. There's going to be no way to recreate that unless they remaster and make you buy it again.
It's just the pitfalls of the modern gaming scene, and it's going to keep happening. Now, if you were into this game, there is an Evil Dead game out that's pretty close. There's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that's either out or coming out.
Similar game styles.
Yeah, they did was it Predator? I think they did one that's
cool.
but that one I've heard, haven't played it, but I've heard it wasn't quite as good, but the other ones kind of are. So it's a style that I think is going to keep happening, but this specific one, maybe someone will pick it up someday.
Yeah.
But that is also, like, you asked the question, or I did, why don't they make these 4-player split screen? They don't want to.
No.
They want you online, they want you dependent on that vehicle so that they can control the little puppet hands.
Yeah, it's just all behind the curtain.
I don't want to be a puppet. I want to be a real boy.
Yeah, I want to be a real boy. And then another October game, we talked about this when they announced this. This is back in May. They announced that Alan Wake 2, which I'm pretty sure comes out this month, is going to be a digital-only release. That's a major AAA release that's not going to even have an option for physical. It's just digital only, which sucks because like the first Alan Wake is incredible.
Yeah.
And I want to play the second one, but I don't want to support it. I don't want to support the digital only. Like it's a tough thing.
I think this is the first of its kind to be digital only.
Yes.
Now, to me, I would say, like Streets of Rage 4 and the new Turtles game, when those came out, were a bigger deal than Alan Wake in my world. But those are kind of more indie titles.
Yeah, yes.
And they had, like, delayed physical releases, if you will.
But they still had a physical release.
This is like a mainline release, in the Xbox realm or whatever.
AAA.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can only get it digitally. And I bet, because we're in this era of digital, people are consumers are like just into I want to play it now.
Yep.
It's gonna do well.
Yeah.
It's gonna sell well digitally, and then company's gonna be like, oh wow, we're saving so much money by not having to print, do all ship, and they can sell for the same price.
Yep.
So when this does well, because it will, other companies are gonna. So it's gonna snowball.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It really is. And with these survival horror type of games, I bet you there are tons of people watching this video that have went back in some form or fashion to whether it be their PS1 to play the Resident Evil games or Silent Hill, or their PS2, or those survival horror games. Years down the line, you want to play them again.
Especially when it gets to like spooky season.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want to go back and play this.
Yeah.
If it's digitally only, good luck.
Yeah.
If it's digital only, you have it downloaded, then it's like, okay, does my console still work? Hopefully I downloaded it. Do I remember? Like, it's a lot harder than just going back and be like, oh, I can get that store at the secondhand market, get that game at the secondhand market, buy it for super cheap, and then play it.
Or if I kept all my shit and I'm a little video game hoarder,
I can just. But most people aren't. So then it's like, okay, let me go rebuy it.
Yeah.
But, it just sucks. And then back in March is when we did the original video of the shelves freaking empty, and the shelves are still empty. It is absolutely wild.
We were hearing so much crazy stuff that like we were making it up somehow, or that it wasn't like that.
Overreacting.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, it's a supply chain issue. It's because it was just after the holidays. Touche, it was March. We're approaching the holidays, and it hasn't.
We've been watching it.
We didn't want to beat that video to death. I mean, of course, we could have made probably 7 videos about that topic and got tons of views because that video has 300,000 views, which for us is a ton.
That's a ton for us, yeah.
But we're just not that way. We're on to the next thing, right? But every time we go into the store, I grab video and I show you here in the game. It still looks that way, dude.
Still looks that way.
Then we heard people saying, well, it's because of theft. Guys, watch the footage that is rolling before your very eyes. They're behind locked glass cases.
It's not theft. And also it's approaching the holidays. You think with the holidays coming up, you stock the shelves.
Well,
no, it's they did stock something.
And people are less likely to steal when it's around Jesus' birthday. Did you know that?
Yeah,
It's proven.
I think I did hear that somewhere. Back in math class, probably. But like, looking at this footage, they have these physical games, and then on top of the physical games, they have the digital download cards, and they have so many of those.
Those are funny,
and those aren't locked up, but those are the same price as the physical games, and I bet they sell so many of those. Obviously, it's a lot easier to buy. People don't want to have crazy collections. I get it. But then you don't have to deal with employees. You don't have to unlock the case.
Which could take, some of these stores, it could take you 10, 15 minutes to track a human down.
You know, social anxiety, maybe you don't want to track a human down. Maybe you don't want to wait. Maybe you're just like, I want to buy this game. But it's the same price.
Yeah.
And it's digital only. It's just, back in March, they had these cards, but not as much.
Yeah.
The card section is expanding.
And it is funny. It's not all the time, but you can find times where they like run ads and stuff like that, or just they move the price of physical games down and the cards more. And I bet you some who's in there buying it.
I bet the card stays at the full price thing, and I wouldn't be shocked. I would love to see like their sales if they continually sell cards.
Yeah, I bet.
And they're like, it's cheaper at the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, for
physical.
When you look at that footage too, even if they do have a physical game, there is no backstock.
It looks like there is, but there's one.
Yeah.
There's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
So it is just a downward slope, and it is wild. Like when we first covered it back in March, what was that, 7 months ago? We were like, this is how it's going, and now like chronologically, like every month, there's been 1 or 2 news stories where it's like, here we go, and it's just gonna keep snowballing. It's gonna suck. I mean, right now as a gamer, it's great to be a gamer. You know, we doom and gloom. We have access to everything.
Yep.
But it's ending the option, and it's ending nostalgia. I feel like there's going to be no way to go back and like play these games that are digitally only.
Yeah.
There's going to be no way to relive memories. There's going to be no way to do this because companies are forcing you into this certain.
I mean,
sucks.
Good luck when your kid that's obsessed with Fortnite's nostalgia pops off.
Yeah.
You know,
it will if they play a certain game. Mm-hmm. A ton. Nostalgia will happen at some point.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be no way to be like, okay, well, you can kind of play it, but it's a different map, so you don't have nostalgia for it. It's really frustrating. I
don't know what we're heading for. I don't know if the market will help try correcting the situation, or if people will just keep consuming, and they'll own nothing and be happy with it. I know what I'm going to do. I already don't play much modern stuff. Yeah. I'm not scared of a digital game. If it's the only way I can play it and it's cheap enough, I will do it, but only if it's a game that I know I'm only going to want to play for a specific year. So I'm more apt to do that with maybe sports games, things like that. But otherwise, I'm going to take my hard-earned money and I'm going to focus on the retro stuff that I never got to. I've got backlogs forever.
Yeah, there's so many retro games that it's like, oh, we never got around to playing that game on the Genesis.
Yeah. Let's
go find a copy and then spend time with that. We don't have to worry about, updates, freaking all this shit, DLC, you know? Let's just do that. It's going to be really weird to see what happens in the future. And I think now is the point when casual gamers are starting to notice. We talked about it a few months ago and they were like, nah, it doesn't affect me. Now I feel like it's starting to affect not just the hardcore.
Yeah.
And it's going to start affecting everybody, and people are going to go, what the hell? What's going on? You know? Especially that wrestling thing. That wrestling thing is a big deal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are upset by that. And I know it's just a specific game and a specific group of people, but that's a lot of people. And if it does, it's going to start happening with more and more games.
And to me, I didn't grow up like dirt poor. We had everything we needed, but I hate how going discless and online only and that type of stuff, it alienates a pocket of the world. Not everybody has access to great high-speed internet. So for one, that's not cool, because now we have a barrier of entry situation, and that's never fair. And I was always, again, I had everything I ever wanted growing up, but I never had the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
I had my NES until 1997. I did not get a Super Nintendo until 97 when I asked for an N64. But I do remember when I got my N64 and I was behind the curve of everyone else. And the only wrestling game my dad could afford to get me was WCW vs. NWO World Tour. And no, WrestleMania 2000 was out. And you know what? I was happy as a freaking lark.
Yeah.
And you know what was sucked? Is if I would have popped that bad boy in and, servers down.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, fuck, well, you gotta buy the new game. Well, you can't afford the new game. This is the game I could afford, and I can't play it.
And that's why I don't like the secondhand market going away, because that's the only way I could get games back.
And I feel like that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you can afford to go out and buy every brand new release
$60, $70.
And the games are getting released all the time.
Yeah.
There's no way you can keep up, play that many games, and spend that kind of money. There's no way. Even if you have a ton of money, there's no way you could do that. So, and people have backlogs, so it's like, yeah, I'll get to that game eventually. I'll get to that game Imagine if, like, I mean, obviously they won't because it's a massive game. But Red Dead 2, for example, that game's been out for a while. What if they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna cut the servers?
Yeah.
GTA 5, that game's been out for 10 plus years. That was on the 360. It's super popular. But what if they were like, oh, we're gonna cut the servers? That's what they're basically doing at a small scale. But it's gonna come up to that.
Yeah.
Where that game's been out for a while, so you know, get ready for the next one because.
Saddle up. I think, guys, a lot of this stuff is just the beginning. What they want is subscription services, and they want it to be all online. They want you to just basically rent the game. You don't own it. You play it for as long as we say you can. And if we can set the hook, if we can make it to where you don't really love playing WWE 2K22 offline, you love the online functionality, then we really got your ass, and we're going to cut the servers, and guess what? You will pay the money. That's what they're thinking. I'm not saying you will. Maybe you won't. But they think that you will. And then when they set the hook for Call of Duty, and they yank that son of a bitch out, you're going to buy the new Call of Duty because you're jonesing for that online
because
experience.
you want that fix, you know. It's like it's getting you hooked to something and then having to start over and invest a ton of money in. Because a lot of these games have freaking microtransactions, so then you buy a ton of stuff, and then it's like, oh, that doesn't transfer to the next one. Okay, so you have to start over. You buy. It's just they know what they're doing. It's an evil corporation. Yeah, it's a money. It's very.
It's almost like they're turning into arcade machines that just munch your freaking quarters all
the way.
long.
But it's not quarters. It's $80. $80 every year. It's
bizarre.
And it's kind of, this is a super negative episode kind of, but I don't think there's any like solution. I don't think there's anything we can really do besides just not follow suit and
speak with your wallets. That's all you can do.
And play old stuff. You know, it's like, God, I want to play the new stuff, but I don't want to play it that bad. You know? So
it's bizarre. I think it's what Microsoft wants. I think Microsoft wants an all digital space, and then they can shove their Game Pass right down your throat, and you will like it because it'll be the only way you can play new shit.
Yep.
We'll see. But anyway, we want to touch in on this topic because a lot of things have been popping off since we released that video in March about the store shelves getting empty, and we seen this stuff coming, talked about it. We were called lunatics, and here we are back into 2023.
We're still lunatics.
And the hits just keep on coming. What do you think about all the stuff we covered in this video and the outlook of the future of the gaming scene? Are we heading for like some sort of really big deal, a crash?
I know a lot of people are talking about a crash right now, but what is that going to mean? And like, it's going to be a weird.
It's going to take consumers to stand up and say, we're not playing your game, dude.
Yeah, it's like, no.
That's what it's going to take. I don't know that people are strong enough and have the willpower to do that. Time will tell. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in and subscribing to the channel. We'll catch you next time right here on the one and only Gaming Off the Grid.